Hello and welcome back to Let's Talk Chicago Bears. I know today's a rough day for a lot of people, but you know what? That game was really good. There was a few issues, we're going to talk about them, but the game was really good, and at the end of the day, we were 11-6. We won a playoff game, and we beat the Packers twice this year. So to me, very successful season, and I've been saying all season, in my opinion, the Bears are 1 year ahead of schedule. I thought this was going to happen next year. So the future is bright. There's no doubt about it. I mean, it was rough. Going into this game, I didn't have a lot of confidence that they were going to win. All I wanted was them to be in the game, to play, and they did it. And it was 20-17, an overtime game. You can't ask for any better, right? So, it's rough. I mean, am I sad? Damn so. My sister happened to be in town for work, so we got to watch it to game. I found a Bears bar here in Vegas, and we went to watch the game, and I got to tell you, it was really fun watching it with all those people. That place was packed, and it was all Bears fans, and we were loud, and it was fun. It was fun. So it did make it a little bit easier, the sting a little bit easier when you were with all those people who love the Bears. And you know what? I'm really proud of them. I'm so proud of them. They've come so far. Yeah, there's some issues, and we know we've talked about them, but you know what? They did pretty much what they could do. But they've been consistent. They were consistent last night in the game and doing some stuff that they've been doing all season. So let's get into it. But it is a sad day, but it's not. So first of all, I want to give a couple shout outs like I always do. Shout out to my brother, Scott. He is doing so much better. I appreciate all your prayers and concerns for him. He is now in a rehab center, and he is moving on. And Stan, we love you, man. We love you. Okay, so the Bears, we know, lost 20-17, and I gotta tell you, on paper, the Rams had us beat hands down out of passing, rushing, because these four things I talk about every week: passing, rushing, points scored, and points allowed. Rams were in top 10 for all of them. The Bears were in the top 10 in 3 out of the 4: pass, rush, points scored. But points allowed, they were 23rd. But I gotta tell you, we cannot complain about that defense because they played one hell of a game. I mean, where has that defense been all season? For the most part, they gave up 20 points only, and it took overtime to do that. So they really had a great game, and it was damn cold there. What was it, like 5 degrees? And so, it did make it a little difficult for some of the receivers, I think, trying to catch that ball. But that doesn't excuse the drops that we had again. We did have drops. We're going to talk about that, but it was a magical game. So, Williams... Well, first, let's talk about these things that they did. So, passing, 257 yards. Rushing, the Bears had 160, and I said that was so important to go into this game. They had to have about 150 yards rushing. I was right. They had 160, and it proved to be right because it kept the Rams' offense off the field, and it kept our defense off the field. But the problem with the running game last night was when we needed those 1 to 2 yards, they couldn't get them. They just couldn't get them. So I don't know, of course, because you're playing one of the top defenses in the league, which is the Rams, because in points allowed for the Rams, they're number 10 in the league. So the defense is a good defense. And so, the rush, it was good. Okay, so 257 pass, 160 rushing. They only had 3 penalties. You know my rule, 5 penalties or less. They did that, and they won the time of possession, 39 minutes to 32. So they did all the right things. They made very few mistakes, except for the drop passes and those 3 interceptions. There's no doubt about it. Those kind of hurt. They really hurt. But I'm not going to fault Williams because he played his heart out, and he has played his heart out this entire season. So let's see what he did. He did 257 yards passing. He rushed for 40 yards. There was one really good rush he did where it was 2nd and 12, I think, and he got the first down. It was awesome. He threw 2 touchdowns, but unfortunately, the ratio wasn't good because he threw 3 interceptions. And but that pass in the 4th quarter to tie up the game to Cole Kmet was amazing. I mean, he's running around in the backfield, and he just whips this ball. And Cole Kmet, I heard him say after the game, it was like playing baseball. It was a fly ball in the center field, and I went and caught it. That was amazing. And when we tied that game up, I started to believe we could win that game. But unfortunately, it did not happen. Because then Williams in overtime threw that interception, and that was that, and they went down and scored the field goal. Once that interception happened, I knew the game was over. I was pretty sure that the Rams could get a field goal out of that. But again, Cabe had a great game, unfortunately. So that the first interception, what was that? Okay, so his first interception came right after Rome dropped a easy touchdown in the beginning of the game in the first quarter. When the Bears went down, they went right down the field. We had 7 points, and he dropped it. I mean, you can't do that. I've been saying it all season. You can't do those easy passes. Have to be caught. And that was 7 points we left on the field there. And right after that, interception. And then they went down and scored their first 7 points. His second interception was in the 3rd quarter. And nothing came of that, except for the Bears didn't score any points. But the Rams, our defense went out there, and the Rams ended up punting. But in the 3rd interception came at a very crucial time, as we all know, the overtime. And I heard Williams say in his press conference that it was a miscommunication between him and DJ Moore. Moore thought he was supposed to run one way, and of course Williams thought another way, and boom, interception, because that was too easy of an interception, so you knew it had to be some kind of a miscommunication. But again, you know what? Yeah, he did it. He threw 3, and in the last 2 games, he has thrown 5 interceptions. So, and he was so good up until this point. So, as something he's really got to work on. I felt like he was pressing it a little bit, trying to make things happen out of his norm. I know he wanted to win this game, but I felt like he was pressing a few things. He looked very uncomfortable to me a couple times. So, you know what? But you can't really fault him because he's improved so much this year, Williams, from last year. Of course, he has a head coach that knows what he's doing, but he really improved. So he's going to work. I heard him say already, I'm going to work on the offseason about some of the, up until last week's game and this week's game, he didn't really have those overthrows because remember, prior to that, he was missing wide open receivers 3 to 4 times a game. He did not do that yesterday. It was the wide receivers that dropped easy passes. But I will say, I wasn't digging some of the play calling, and I've criticized Ben a few times for that, and but he's Ben Johnson, and he's gonna do what he's gonna do. He's gonna keep making those decisions. I don't like them all, but what are you gonna do? All right, so let's finish up a few stats. I'm not gonna go too much because it doesn't really matter. But Swift had 76 yards rushing. Kyle Mungai had 36 yards rushing. Loveland 56 yards in the air. Moore, 52 yards with 1 touchdown. Rome, 44 yards. And Kyle Mungai came in with 36 yards receiving. Cabe threw to 8 different wide receivers, tight ends, running back. I love it. He spreads that ball around, and it's awesome. It really, really is. But so let's talk about this offense a little bit more. There were some issues. Now, the offensive line played a frickin' great game because they were coming after Williams the entire time, and they did not get one sack. They did not sack Williams and that offensive line, and we were missing one of our best players, Ozzie, who got hurt in the last week's game and is on IR. So I was real concerned about that, but it didn't even look like it was an issue. They got close a few times, but Cabe can take off. So the offensive line, no criticism whatsoever for them. Couple guys I gotta say, we know Rome. Everybody knows what happened in that first drive. He dropped an easy touchdown. My sister could have caught that pass, I'm telling you. And so it really pissed me off because that's the first points we left on the field, because in my opinion, we left 13 points on that field, and with those 13 points, you win the game because that was an easy touchdown. And unfortunately, right after that one is when Cabe Williams threw his first interception. Then in the third quarter, Rome dropped another one for a first down, which was right in his hands. Now, I know it was 5 degrees, and that ball had to be hard to hang on to, but that's why they wear the gloves, but that's what they're paid for, to do that. And it was this has been a concern most of the season because, again, 3 to 4 drops each game of easy passes cannot happen. You're in the NFL, boys. You have to catch those balls. Loveland uncharacteristically dropped 2 passes, both in the second quarter, and they were going to give us first downs, and that's uncharacteristics for Loveland, but he did it. He did drop them, again, probably because of the ball, but I don't care. You should have caught the damn ball, because then you keep that drive going. But on a bright note, Comment, when he caught that pass in the fourth quarter to tie that game up, as I said, and he said it was like being in the center field waiting for a ball to come down. It was amazing on both ends, throw and catch. But, with Rome and Loveland, dropping those, you just cannot have it. Now, like I said, on the rushing game, they did rush for 160 yards, said they needed to do it. It's just like I said, they couldn't get those crucial 1 to 2 to 3 yards when they needed it on third down. And Ben pretty much kept doing the run. I thought a couple times maybe he should have thrown a short pass, same as a run, get a pass to one of your running backs or your tight ends, first down. And I've questioned him all year a few times on his play calling, but you know what? 80% of the time he's got it. And you know what? Everybody makes mistakes, I get it, but I don't know, sometimes. And the one thing about the Bears and Ben in that game is they went for it 6 times on fourth down and only converted 3. That's not, I think it was only 3 they converted, and that's not good. You know what? This is my biggest, it was 3 out of 6. And that's my biggest bugaboo with him is he loves to go for it on fourth down. And twice we were within field goal range on those fourth downs. He went for them, didn't get them. That's 6 points on the field, plus the 7 points drop pass, 13. Boom, Bears win the game. So I don't agree. And everybody in the bar, the first time he did it, everyone was like, okay, it's early in the game. He wants points. We get it. But as the game went on, people were starting to say, take the points, take the points. And had he done that, who knows? I mean, it doesn't mean if he took the points, we would have won anyways. But again, we left 13 points on that field, in my opinion. I don't know. I just don't think he's going to change. I just don't dig it. I know he's worried he needed points because his offense. But the thing is about the offense, it wasn't working. So, at the end of the game, you got to take the points, Ben. Points, points, points. The new league, it just started about, 5 years, 6 years ago. Prior to that, Most teams didn't go on fourth down like they do now. Everybody goes on fourth down, so I guess we're going to have to get used to that, but I don't dig it. I want points. So, but the offense, for the most part, they did their job. It was a low-scoring game. I'm sure the weather had a lot to do with it, and I'm just proud that they stayed in for every play, and they were playing to the bitter end. There's just no doubt about it. And what really surprised me in this game was the defense. Where has this defense been the whole year? Sorry about that. My sister's phone's ringing. Where has this defense been the entire year? I mean, they played lights out. Now, they did because they knew they had to. And the Rams, again, top 10 in passing, running, and scoring points. And they held them to 20 points. And I thought that was very impressive because we have not had a good year with our defense. Our defensive line, you know how I feel about that. We need an edge rusher. We need a run stopper. But they came to play, there's no doubt about it, that defensive line. We had 4 sacks from our defense. Brisker, number 9, Gordon, number 6, 98 Sweat, and 90 Robinson all had sacks. And our defensive line was making Stafford uncomfortable. And I always say, if you can't sack him, get in his face, make him uncomfortable. And Stafford's not a runner, and they missed him a couple times. They should have had 6 sacks, in my opinion, because he got out of their grasp a couple times. Just like I think the defense should have had 2 interceptions, and that's the thing that's really been hard. That's been a problem these last couple games, especially the playoffs. They had no turnovers, and that's one of the things that got the Bears is to 11-6 with a lot of those turnovers. They were turning them up. They were getting turnovers every game, 1 to 2 turnovers every game there, which allowed their offense to get back on the field and score points. But they did not do that in these last 2 games. But there was a couple times, man, they were so close. And then that one time with Stafford when they sacked him, we almost had that fumble recovery. So had they gotten those 2 to 3 possible turnovers, again, different. But they played a really good game, this defense. They never let up. They were out there fighting. And the one person who stood out to me on the whole team was Brisker. 3 weeks ago, I was talking about Brisker on my show, saying he hasn't been playing quite the same this year after that bad concussion after week 5 or 6 last year in Carolina when we played the Carolina game and he never came back. But all of a sudden, maybe it took him that long. Sometimes they say if you get a bad concussion or stuff like that, it's in your head and you're always worried about it. But he was everywhere. He led the team with tackles yesterday, and that guy was everywhere. And they said after the game, the locker room cleared out pretty quickly. And this one reporter said there was one person left in the locker room, and he was still in his uniform. He was sitting in front of his locker, and it was Brisker. He was the only one in there. And he said, I'm pretty sure he's thinking about this could be my last game as a Chicago Bear because his contract, I believe, is up. I would like to see the Bears re-sign him. We know we want him to come back. There's some other players, and that's what the players talked about a lot last night is next year the team could be different because, it's the way the league is now, people don't stay on the teams like they used to, like I grew up with, where you started with a team and you finished with the team. So Brisker could be gone. I hope not, because he played one hell of a game, and I think he's back. But the fact that he was just sitting there and taking it all in, that tells you a lot, right? So congratulations on that, Brisker. I mean, really, really your best game this season. It might have been your best game, period, because you were impressive. I mean, it really was. So, and one thing about the Rams, too, this shows your defense had a good game. The Rams punted 8 times. The Bears punted 3. 8 times. That means our Bears got their offense off the field, and that is just awesome because they weren't doing that all year, right? Because the offense was winning the games. So now the defense, if we could have just gotten the offense and the defense on the same page for 4 quarters, which they're going to do in the offseason, we're going to worry about. We'll figure that out. But, Brisker, good game, and man, I hope you're back in a Bears uniform next year. So, and I mean, again, we could go over this and that and mistakes, but the bottom line is it was a close game. Every Bears fan wanted what we got yesterday except for the win. We wanted to be in that game. We wanted to look like we belonged on that field, and 100% we belonged on that field. And moving forward, we will be back on that field. And in my opinion, if Poles does what he did in the offseason last year, work all on offense, and look how it turned out, this year you got to concentrate on defense. We need an edge rusher. We need a run stopper. We need middle linebackers, because really the best one is DJ Edwards, and he was hurt a lot this season, and obviously he didn't finish the season. He ended up on an IR, and remember where he's from, Lake Villa, Illinois. Love Lake Villa, that's where I'm from. So we got to get the linebackers, and we need some help in the backfield, especially if you can't sign some of these guys like Brisker. I don't know what Gordon. I think he's still signed through there. Brisker's the biggest one. We know JJ signed through. He did an extension last year. So, but Poles has really got to concentrate. We need a defensive line. I've complained about it the entire season because I said it starts with that defensive line. They're the first front. If they can't stop anybody or the run, then it becomes the next line is the middle linebackers in the backfield. And in the middle of the season and stuff, it was always the linebackers in the backfield guys making these tackles. And remember how they were running all over our defensive line at the beginning of the season. We gave up, gosh, what did the Rams have? I think it was 140 yards on the ground. So they gave up again a lot, but that's why we need to do this. So we're going to work on these things in the off season, and we should come back better than ever. I hope we can keep some of these core guys. Some you can let go. There's some I'm real disappointed in. Billings, 100% disappointed in him. Stop with so many hamburgers, man, and lose a little weight. Maybe you can stop that run. But again, fun season. We didn't see this one coming. I certainly didn't. Again, I kept saying most of the season, I thought we were ahead of schedule. So if we can get the offensive rolling like we did this year, next year, and better, and get these guys, these young guys, like Loveland and Burden, when they've had their drops, again, they are rookies. So part of that is rookies, big games. It's a lot. And last night it was cold, so I'm sure it was hard catching that ball. But again, that's their job. So I don't know what else to say except for, I'm happy. I'm happy, and I'm pretty sure everybody back in Illinois is happy. I'm sure that the talk shows and whatnot are going to break down this game, and they're going to find the mistakes. I mentioned a few of them, really the drop passes and leaving 13 points on the field. And Ben, some of the calls, I don't know, man. I'm going to have to come there and have a chit-chat with you because I'm just not sure. But no, the future is bright, people. And, hell, never thought we'd be here. I know people talked about the Super Bowl. Even my son said, hey, it's setting up to be New England and the Bears. Because New England's going to win next week because Denver lost their quarterback right after they won that game on Saturday, which sucks, man. He broke his ankle on the second to the last play. That's like Bears luck, right? But so now I wish Buffalo had won that game so that it makes it a game next week. But so it looks like it's probably going to be New England, and in my opinion, in the Super Bowl, Seattle. It should be a New England-Seattle Super Bowl. We'll see. I won't be back. This is my last show. No point. I'll be back for the draft. I'll come back. We'll talk about the draft. I'll talk about all the off-season signings. Hopefully we sign some good guys, and we have a good, solid draft. Now, we're not going to, because we made it to the playoffs, people remember, we're not going to have a high draft. We're drafting low because we actually won this season. And that's what got us to where we are with the talent, because the last 3-4 seasons, we kept getting good drafts so we could pick these guys up. Now you're not doing that. So I think Poles is going to be very into the free agents, because look what he did last year. He signed 3 offensive linemen to 3 agents, and look at the difference. Cabe was the number 1 sack quarterback last year, 68 sacks. I know. And I think he's in the 40s. It was 42 maybe. I saw he was sacked this year, and that was early on. As the season went on, he was sacked less and less and less because he got better and he was running. And the offensive line, I told you guys at the beginning of the season, the offensive line is the hardest group to get to come together because they were all new. We only had one returning guy, Darnell Wright. So these guys have to think and eat and sleep together. They have to know what the next guy's doing. And it took a while, but once it got going, they're rocking and rolling. So that's not an issue. Really, offense, they're going to tweak some things in the offseason and hope he can bring people back. I'm not sure. DJ Moore might be on the bubble. I don't know. I mean, he's still got a contract. He, in the middle of the season, really wasn't showing up much, but at the last 4 games, he really showed up, and he has been playing well, and he's tough, man. He gets hurt, and he goes right back in there. So that's it. So I'll come back. We'll talk the draft. We'll talk the off-season signings, and then I'll be back next August, end of August. I always start after the preseason games are over, and then we'll start season 7. I know, season 7 of Let's Talk Chicago Bears, right? And I want to thank everybody who watches me. You guys are awesome. I started out with 725 subscribers this year, and I don't do this, I say this all the time, for that, but my buddy wanted me, who does a podcast, he does Bears Country Productions on Thursday nights. He does a podcast, Dan, and he wanted me to get to 800. And then Greg Braggs from the very popular Shy Go, CH Go, in Chicago. I know he's called me out a few times. Thank you, Greg. I really, really appreciate your support. And I got to over 800 subscribers, so it's awesome. Met some cool people last night in the bar, and I want to send out a message to these 3 ladies. We seem to hit it off. They live close by me, and they're like, we want to hang out with you. Of course, who doesn't want to hang out with me? But I think I gave her my wrong phone number because I didn't hear from her, and she was going to text me right away. So if you're watching this show, one of you, just leave me a message in the comments, and if you get it, then I'll put my phone number out there for you guys to have it, okay? I'm not going to say it on the show, but I'll type it in the comments if you guys reach out, because I would love to hang out with you. But, so here we are. It was a fun season. I like doing the show again, because I almost did not do season 6, because I was so burnt out from last season, and I was so tired of swearing on this show, saying the word fuck 500 times, but I didn't have to do that this year, because it was such a pleasure. So, I will be back again for season 7, and everybody, it's good. We've got a franchise quarterback, and never since the 1920s have the Bears had a franchise quarterback. We got one now. He's mature. He doesn't make excuses, and he's going to get better and better and better. Next year will be year 2 under Ben, and they're going to work on a lot of stuff. So the future, isn't that a song? The future is bright. I can't remember who sings that. Oh, well, doesn't matter. The future is bright. And thank you all, really. I do appreciate you guys turning me on. Not too many old ladies, 67-year-old ladies who moved from Illinois to Vegas, talk about the Bears and have people watch them, and I appreciate it, and I met a lot of nice people. My sister and I had so much fun at that bar last night. It was really, it was a lot funner watching it with all those people, so thanks everybody. Go Bears. And as always, I always leave my show, be kind, respect one another, help people out. It's a tough world out there. We're all going through a lot. I never go into specifics, but you know what I mean. And we just have to help one another out. Support people. Don't be so damn negative, and think before you speak to somebody. We need to stick together like Bears fans do in this country. We need to stick together and just be kind. It's so much easier to smile and make people smile. I tell you, I talk to everybody, and I try to make people smile every day if I can, because you don't know what kind of a day they're having. So just be kind. And everybody, take a breath, enjoy this awesome season, go back and look at it, and know the 2026 season, we are going to the Super Bowl. The Chicago Bears will be in the Super Bowl. I'm telling you right now. You heard it here first. So it's been a joy. I didn't go to too much. It's just no point in beating down what happened. At the end of the day, I'm happy. My sister's happy. My son's happy. You know what? Proud and happy. I love you, Chicago Bears. And we'll be back, right? We will be back. All right. And on that note, see you guys around the draft. Thanks again for all the fun this season. And keep on rocking and rolling from Vegas, baby. See you in May.